Previously aired broadcast of News for the Soul online at newsforthesoul.com. Now let's get back to the show. It's time for Conscious Parenting with Sandra Jones-Keller and family. Welcome back. Let's get you to reintroduce yourself, your show, and what's up for today.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Welcome to the Conscious Parenting Show. My name is Sandra Jones-Keller, and I'm a spiritual energy healer, conscious parenting coach, and author. And I'm joined today by my husband, Thomas.
Hello.
And our 18-year-old daughter, Mecca.
Hello. Usually you say hello.
Say hello. Okay. So we're broadcasting live on News for the Soul Radio, and we're also live on my YouTube channel. So if you've ever wondered what we look like, go over to Sandra Jones-Keller on YouTube, and you can see us live. So call in or email your questions. You can email your questions to ontheair@telus.net, or you can call in to 646-595-4274. So maybe you have questions about discipline or bedtime or tantrums. Whatever is on your mind, we will do our best to answer it from a conscious parenting perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're going to be talking about, is corporal punishment appropriate in this new age? And we're going to be answering your conscious parenting questions. So
what is corporal punishment to begin with?
Well, let's see. Corporal punishment is physical punishment, and it's defined by the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child as any punishment in which physical force is used and intended to cause some degree of pain or discomfort, however light.
So what are some examples? Give me an idea of what we're talking about.
Well, the most popular that you probably heard of is spanking.
I experienced it.
Yeah, me too. Hitting, slapping, pinching, pulling, or hitting with an object. It can also include forcing a child to kneel, sit, or stand in uncomfortable positions or on painful objects, or making them eat unpleasant substances. So all of that is considered corporal punishment, and it's physical punishment. It's any type of physical punishment used to cause pain or discomfort for kids.
Okay.
So why are we talking about corporal punishment in this new age?
Because that's a great question.
I think it's a great question. I think, we're in this age of Aquarius.
Or what kind of punishment, or any punishment.
Right. So we will talk about some alternatives to corporal punishment, because I understand the frustration of raising a child, and sometimes they're just not even doing what you want them to do, but they are straight out misbehaving. So it can get very frustrating sometimes. And so corporal punishment has been around like in biblical times, like even, what was that? Spare the rod, spoil the child.
Yes.
So this is a saying that's been around forever. It's a practice that's been around for thousands of years. And it was taken sort of as a given. Like my parents did it, their parents did it,
right.
Their parents did it. So what's wrong with it, or why should I even consider changing it?
Well, what's wrong, why should we even consider it, is because this is the conscious parenting show,
right?
Not the unconscious, just repeat what my parents did to me show.
Exactly.
And we know what that show looks like, just as you said, hitting, spanking, whipping, beating, yada, yada, yada.
And so what is conscious parenting, Thomas? What do you think conscious parenting is?
Conscious parenting to me is to be aware or conscious of our actions, our behaviors, and most of all, our thoughts behind those actions and behaviors, because that is really the source. Our thoughts is the source of everything that happens in our life. And by changing those, we change our lives. We transform our lives. So we're going to talk about corporal punishment. You got to talk about what we put out there, we receive back. And going back to the Bible, that's the golden rule, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the golden rule is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And so...
But people think that's just... I think people often think that's symbolic or take it lightly. But it actually is literal.
Well, that's why it's a universal law. And it's one of the laws that we've used. And, so corporal punishment, I had intuitive two-way communication with my daughter Mecca before she was born. I had a high-risk pregnancy. I connected with her intuitively. I asked her a question. She answered back. So I knew that she was this conscious, intelligent, spiritual being in my belly.
Okay.
So then knowing that, and then raising a child consciously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I had this connection. I knew that she was this powerful being, and she wasn't here just because I wanted to be a mom. She had her own life purpose. So she's this intelligent being with her own life purpose. So she's come here to do great things. And so my commitment was to parent her from that place.
Mm-hmm.
Because I recognize that she's a spiritual being. And so then you get into parenting and you've got life that happens.
Then you mean they piss you off?
They piss you off. They don't do what you ask.
They're frustrating.
They're frustrating, a lot of different things.
They actually just do the opposite you ask.
Can you plug in the computer, please? Yes, they do the opposite of what you ask. And so I had an experience when our daughter was 2 years old, and I pinched her over there.
Yes, you did. You pinched her. That's right. That reminds me. What happened when you pinched her at 2 years old, huh?
Mecca, do you remember me pinching you at 2 years old?
I remember dragging stuff off the grocery shelves.
Oh, you do remember? Oh, you do remember that?
Yeah.
Would that be why your mother pinched you?
Yeah.
And so I was committed to being a conscious parent even then. We didn't necessarily call it conscious parenting. It was just kind of based on our spiritual tools.
Tools, yeah.
And so I had my daughter, who was 2, who thought it was funny to climb out of the cart and pull groceries off the shelf.
Right.
And then she would toss them in the back, and sometimes they would land in the cart. Sometimes they would land on the floor. So I'm scrambling and spending more time trying to corral her than actually shopping.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what to do. So I was talking to another mom friend, and I told her about the situation. She's like, I just gave my boys a little pinch, and they finally stopped.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounded good when she said it, but it didn't quite feel right. But I was in the store.
Mm-hmm.
She wouldn't listen. And I finally got so frustrated that my
Try not to.
Oh, that my frustration overshadowed my principles, and I pinched her.
Right.
So when I did it, it didn't feel good at all. She was shocked because I'd never intentionally tried to hurt her. And I felt guilty. I felt bad. But then she stopped. So I was like, okay, so maybe this will actually work because she stopped this behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to the store again, and I'm ready. It's like, oh yeah, wait for her to misbehave and I'm going to pinch her. Well, anyway, she set me up. So did you set me up, or do you even remember that?
I remember that.
Oh, you set me up.
Yeah.
Because we got there and she intentionally started grabbing the ledge and then trying to get to the cans and then not listening and actually ignoring me. And then I pinched her, and she was ready because she grabbed the back of my hand and pinched me hard and then glared at me, daring me to do something about it. So we had kind of like a stare off right in the middle of the grocery aisle.
Mm-hmm.
And what I saw in that was, we call it universal law. So her actions were totally lawful and justified because I had hurt her and she hurt me back. And I was the one who had broken the golden rule first: do unto others as you have them do unto you. And so as a committed conscious parent, I knew this wasn't going to work. And so we committed to each other not to pinch or hurt each other. And then I had to get better at managing my trips. So now some parents, or in my generation or even other generations, would say, well, why didn't you just spank her? The nerve of her to pinch you back. You're the adult, you're the parent. Why couldn't you control this?
I can tell you why you don't do that.
Why?
Because as conscious parents, we know that whatever we put out there, we're going to receive back. But that doesn't mean we're going to receive it back from the person that did it to us or that we did it to. Let's say I pinched my daughter when she was younger and hurt her. On purpose, I pinched her. Well, she may never pinch me back, but I'm going to get pinched metaphorically, symbolically, or physically by somebody else at some other time, and I won't even see it coming, and it's going to be the exact same intensity and symbolically $1,000.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
I might another car. I might anything.
Okay, so say more about that, because for generations, and we already talked about, this goes back to the Bible. Spare the rod, spoil the child. So this is a practice that's gone back for thousands of years. So why all of a sudden then is there even a question of corporal punishment?
Because another thing's in the Bible too.
What's that?
It's called the Golden Rule.
Okay.
It says completely opposite what the spare the rod, spoil the child said.
So yeah, I get that, but you're the parent. So I was the parent. So why did yes, I could have pinched her. We could have had a pinching match, right? But that was not my commitment as her parent, as her mom.
You could have dominated her.
I could have dominated, yes.
But it would have come back around, if not from her, from some other place, and you would never even see it coming.
Yeah. And for me, when I pinched her the first time, it didn't feel good at all. And then when I did it again, I was really in ego. I was just like, I was just trying to get through the grocery shopping. So I was totally in ego. And even though it didn't feel good, I didn't care because I wanted her to behave. But what I saw was that me pinching her created a behavior in her that I didn't like, because I was modeling the use of force to try to control her, which she immediately turned against me. So then I would have perpetuated this behavior of pinching and hurting and trying to control. Mm-hmm. And that was the exact opposite of my commitment as a mom.
Right. And here's a clue. My wife just said, right after she pinched our daughter, my wife didn't feel good about it. That means my wife felt guilty about pinching her. And as you may or may not know, as we hold on to guilt, it goes into the subconscious. We're not always aware of it, and it just sits there and simmers, and where we get pinched, either physically, literally, or and that keeps going back and forth and back and forth until somebody forgives it in themselves.
And also, knowing that my daughter was an intelligent spiritual being, because I had communication with her. She guided me through my high-risk pregnancy. Mm-hmm. So knowing who she was, even though she was in this 2-year-old body, like, I held a bigger context for her.
Right.
Than this is my kid. I have domination. And in this new age where we've got this new energy, okay, hold on. Okay. So this book is 21 Lessons to Empower the New Age Kid. And Thomas painted this for me. I kind of etched it out, but he painted it. And so what I told him was, this is the age of Aquarius, and I want light pouring in to the kids, because this is the age where we're all able to receive our own divine information. So you've got all this light pouring in, and we're all connected. And so to then have this picture, knowing that they're light, knowing that everyone is getting their own divine information or spiritual information or higher consciousness information, then to have these actions of control and punishment, like, was contradictory to me.
It is contradictory.
Yeah. And so
we always have to bring it back to me, the source. If I pinch, if I lie, if I cheat, if I steal, that's going to come right back to me. Mm-hmm. And you never know where or how.
So why do you think some parents use corporal punishment?
Because they just don't. listen, I believe we're all pretty much on different evolutionary paths of consciousness and at different stages in each evolutionary path of consciousness.
Mhm.
So some people aren't ready to hear this conversation. Some people, and there's nothing wrong or right. We're all just wherever we are. And so this conversation won't even make any sense to a lot of people. And that's fine because they're not the ones that are supposed to hear it and begin to understand it at this time. But if you can hear our voices, and there is at least some little part of you that says, what?
Yeah.
Then you're up on board. You're on in the batter's box for
Yeah.
conscious parenting and just being conscious.
You know, I think parents use it for obedience, authority, control. Maybe they're angry and they don't have an outlet for their anger, so they're taking out on their kid.
Of course.
And a lot of it is just tradition. It's like, no, it's like, because it's been done before, no one has actually questioned if that was helpful or not, or are you getting the desired result? You know, so tradition, like, you know, especially in the Black community, I still hear parents threatening their kids with an ass whooping for any type of infraction, talking back, eye rolling, you know, not cleaning the room. So it's cultural and it's tradition, and, you know, and frustration. I had reached the point where, yes, I had these principles that I wanted to uphold, but my frustration took over. And so I pinched her.
Yep.
And I did it twice. And, you know, after that, it was like this, it confirmed that my initial instincts had been correct, that corporal punishment wasn't right for our family.
Okay, so let's say hypothetically, somebody is already in the pinching, spanking boat.
Yeah.
How do they change that if their kid is already 5, 10, 15 years down the road in that style of parenting? How does the parent change that?
Well, you start where you are. So even when Mecca was 2 and I pinched her, I apologized. You know, I said, I am sorry, I pinched you, I got frustrated, and this isn't working. So you just start where you are, you apologize, and then you forgive yourself, because if you're going to carry the guilt, then, you know, you're going to keep having these experiences where you're going to feel like you have to use some type of punishment. But for example, so Mecca, what were some of the creative ways that we raised you? Because we didn't use corporal punishment. So what, like the shoe?
You throwing my shoe out the window?
Yeah. So what happened? Why did I throw your shoe out the window?
Tell that story.
Was that the time I threw the shoe at you?
Oh yeah. But that wasn't the first time you threw. This had been going on for a few weeks.
Do the whole setup. Where were you at when it was started happening?
Well, she was 3.
I was 3, so I don't fully remember it.
In the back seat of the car at 3 years old, driving. Mom was driving.
Died. Threw my shoe at you, and then you threw it out the window.
Okay, that's the simplified version.
Okay, I don't know.
I thought you were 3 years old. So so that 2 years old, she was doing the whole shopping cart thing, like I just talked about. And then at 3 years old, all of a sudden it became funny to throw her shoe at me while I was driving. And this went on for a couple, you know, it was like a couple months maybe, or at least a few weeks. So she'd throw the shoe, I'd get mad. She'd laugh. She'd throw a shoe, I would pretend like I was really hurt. She didn't do anything. She'd throw it. So this went back and forth, and I would always give her the shoe back. So I had just bought her a new pair of these ballet flats, and they were so cute. So we're driving down the 75. I'm trying to change lanes. It's a huge interchange in Atlanta area. And this shoe comes flying by. It hits the windshield and then hits me in the face while I'm trying to drive on the highway and change lanes. And I went, ah! And she just started laughing because she thought it was the funniest thing. So I'm about to hand the shoe back like I have done several times before, and something hit me like, I need to do something different. So I showed her the shoe, and she's like, I think you maybe even started reaching for it.
Probably.
And I rolled down the window, and I pointed that I was rolling down the window, and I went like this, and I tossed the shoe out. And then what did you do?
Started crying?
Oh, you were screaming.
Mm.
Yeah. So she cried and cried and cried all the way home. And I said, you know what? I'm sorry, honey, but I didn't know what else to do.
It's a perfect example. You just talked about pinching her a year or two earlier in her life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the whole thing turns around, and Mecca initiated.
Oh, she's starting to hit me in the face.
She hit Mom in the face while she was driving in a car, whereas before Mom pinched the child. And then Mom finally takes equal and equivalent action and throws out making the pair of shoes useless because there's only one shoe. Whatever you put out there, it's going to come back to you, and you never know why or how.
They were brand new shoes too. And so we got home, and I explained to her why I threw her shoe out. And now the trick was not to go out and buy a new pair of shoes.
Of course.
Because I really did like those shoes, and she had really liked those shoes. So my pull was, oh, well, I'll just go get another pair. But I realized that would have defeated the whole purpose.
Right.
So I intentionally did not go out and buy her another pair of shoes.
Absolutely.
And what do you think happened? What do you think happened, Mecca? Did you ever throw a shoe at me again?
No.
Yeah. Why? So why didn't you throw a shoe at me
I
again?
didn't want another shoe thrown out the window.
So that consequence of losing your shoe was enough, right?
Yeah.
So I don't recommend, throwing your kids' shoes out necessarily, but getting creative. Like, what are some of the other ways that you can work with your child? And so in conscious parenting, for me, it's about partnering with Mecca. So whenever something has come up, we talk about it. We try to work it out. And
that's step one. You have to talk about it and not talk at your child. Have a conversation with your child where you explain, you see within yourself where you did this or initiated this, and then that happened. So if you're going to go preaching to your child, it's never going to be heard.
But we're not going to talk about marrying yet. That's the last point. I don't want to talk about marrying yet.
Well, it's the base of everything.
It is. But, just some practical things. So
absolutely.
Example. Well, that is sort of marrying, but we're going to come back to that. Natural consequences. So all negative behavior to have natural consequences without parental involvement. So then the natural consequences of that was she lost her shoe.
Right.
So Mecca, what other natural consequences have you had? Do you remember?
No.
Well, let's see. For when you were younger, if you didn't get your homework done, you didn't get your Netflix time on the weekend. But you pretty much got your homework done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, what about the time when you kept, I know I see it, when you kept coming into the skating rink and instead of skating, you would
lounge,
talk to your friends, and you didn't care that you were late getting on the ice?
We were paying for ice time and paying for figure skating lessons, and she was quite relaxed about that for a while. And then how did that change?
Made me pay for my
session.
Mom made her pay for her own lesson.
Session.
Yeah. And you know what? We started getting there half hour early.
Yeah.
And I said E before.
Yeah. She that was another story. We have a 20-minute drive to the ice rink. She had a sandwich with her. She had plenty of time to eat her sandwich, but she got to the rink, talked to her friends, got on the ice, skated one loop, and then stopped and leaned over to eat a sandwich. I was appalled. And so instead of, I had already
But until then, she never knew the consequences of that.
Because she didn't have any consequences. It was just me, complaining about her not getting on the ice. So
complaining is not motivation.
And so this time I was ready. She got off the ice. I said, okay, I see that you're not taking this serious about getting on the ice. So tomorrow you will pay for your own ice time. Mm-hmm. We got there a half hour early, and we've been getting there half hour early since, or at least 20 minutes early.
So,
Okay.
parents, if you say you're going to do or initiate something, and then you have to follow through with it. You have to be strong and stay
Yeah.
strong. Otherwise, your actions show it's the consequences are not going to be permanent.
Okay, Mecca, can you read that for us? We have a question from Elizabeth in New York.
I hear you and understand intellectually and energetically, but I doubt this would work in real life with my kids. My son has been suspended from school 5 times in the last school year, and he's only 13. It's a pretty heavy-duty level of issues. I look forward to your thoughts on this.
Okay, Elizabeth in New York.
I'll say something.
Okay, good.
I'll say, as I had said about 5-10 minutes earlier, we're all at different stages in our evolution of our consciousness. And you've dug a bit of a deep hole there with your son and your family. So all I could recommend at this point is that you begin to change yourself and take a deeper look into yourself. Where is my child mirroring my negative behaviors or actions? And start to change that or forgive that in yourself, because if you don't change something and your child just grows up and becomes an adult and you never change, you're going to repeat somebody coming into your life and acting a similar way to that, because whatever we put out there is constantly reflected to us and it'll keep coming back. That's why people go out and get into a dating somebody and then complain this person was terrible in one way. They go around and a year later, they get another person to date, and that person ends up being terrible in the same way.
Let's bring it back to parenting, and let's be more concrete. And we actually have a great example.
All right, lay it out there.
Some kid hit your car.
That is correct.
Okay, hold on. I get to tell because
that's my story.
Okay, you'll get to tell it. So this is a perfect example. So some kid hit his car, like at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So it was a parked car. So we were able to find out who the kid was. We went to the kid's house, and before the mother even said anything, she's like, "Oh, what did he do now?" And what was going on, we don't even know the whole extent of it.
Mm-hmm.
But just based on the mother's conversation with the dad, it was nasty.
Mm-hmm.
So they
had to move multiple times because the kid kept creating problems.
Okay, wait, hold on. I want to back up though, because I want to talk about what was going on in the household.
Okay.
That the kid didn't have stability. He was acting out. And like I said, we were only in her area for 10 or 15 minutes. And the conversation and the ugliness of the conversation she was having with her husband was, you could tell that there was a lot going on between the two of them. They were separated. I think he was living with his girlfriend or something. Mm-hmm. So they had a lot of stuff going on in the house. So this kid was acting out and responding to like all of the energies and the dysfunction in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this piggybacks on what you were saying about mirroring. So I always, whenever I'm working with a client, my first question is, what's going on in the household? Because you can punish the kid, you can suspend them, you can do all of these things, but if they're in an environment where they have a lot of stress, there's a lot of fighting, the parents are divorced, there's another child in the house that's, acting out. So it could be a number of different things. And so I think you need to peel off the layers. And as parents, what we do when there's something going on, it's like, okay, what's going on between me and Thomas? What's going on in the house? What's going on with me that she could be reflecting back?
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's stomach aches, which we've had because we were stressed out about something and it started coming up in her as stomach aches,
mm-hmm.
Fear, anxiety. So our kids are sponges and our kids feel us. And oftentimes they don't have the language or they don't have the tools And so you get them acting out in a number of different ways. So Elizabeth, we don't really know the extent, and we don't know what's going on specifically. But as Thomas said, so now this goes into the mirroring.
All right.
Because I think you need to lay a foundation of when you talk about mirroring, like how does that work in parenting?
Okay.
So you look at, like I said, what's going on in the house, and this kid who ran into his car, it was a perfect example. I mean, the kid, well, one was 14 or 15, so didn't have a driver's license, had taken the car in the middle, snuck out of the house, taken the car and then ran into him. Thank goodness he didn't run into our neighbor's home. And somehow he made it back safely. But there's a lot of stuff going on in that kid's house that he is responding to and acting out. So, you start where you are, what's going on in your house. I don't know if you're married, have a partner, you're divorced, you're separated. It could be a lot of things. And start cleaning your house, cleaning the energy, learning how to ground yourself, learning how to tap into your intuition and forgiveness. Like start forgiving everything that you're seeing. And then from this place, once you have a level of clarity, then start having conversations with your son. Like what's going on when things have happened with Mecca and I've been upset about them. Oftentimes I don't say anything until I go within to figure out what I think it is. Because she may or may not even know. And so I'll say, okay, what could have happened that she didn't make me a Christmas present? Or what could have happened at this? And so instead of like jumping on her and getting mad, it's like taking the time to reflect of what could have happened. And then whenever I've done that, I get the answer. And then from that place, I can see how I played a part in it. And then I can come to her, apologize, clean it up, and then we can change direction. So I hope that.
So Elizabeth, I think what my wife said is absolutely right on the mark. I've been doing this work for 25 years, so sometimes I cut to the chase a little too quickly, but the background information is great because everybody's new, and I got to remember that. I forgot what point I was going to make.
Well, you had talked about mirroring, which you were on point with it, but I just think you needed to go a little.
Yeah, I agree with you. I forget that this is a brand new show with brand new people every month, so I think you're right on the mark.
Okay, thank you very much, Elizabeth in New York. Did you have another thought?
Yeah, Elizabeth. Oh, that's what I thought, Elizabeth. In the way you worded your
do you want to see the question?
Email statement. It felt as though you have given up on your son. And that means that you've given up on yourself as well. And that stance from the very beginning will never help you produce anything that you want to create positively. So just reconsider opening your heart. Don't give up. Reach out to your son. And if he rejects you 100 times, come back to him 101 times.
I'll keep doing your forgiveness work, though.
Well, you want to tell them what forgiveness work is?
So, well, it goes hand in hand with mirroring. So mirroring is everyone is a reflection of myself. So if I see something that I don't like or that I'm disturbed by, if I can stop being pissed off long enough and then go within, I can see where that mirror is. It's a reflection of me somehow, some way, even though half the time I could swear that what he's mirroring back to me just can't possibly be true. So if everyone is a reflection and everyone is a reflection in my world, then when I see something that disturbs me, I do my forgiveness work. And you can do your forgiveness work however that works for you. I use a technique called Ho'oponopono, and it was brought into modern times by Dr. Hugh Lin from Hawaii. And it's 4 simple phrases. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And what this does is it acts as like a scrub brush where it goes in and it cleans out that energy that has whatever someone is doing that disturbs me, that I'm holding the consciousness for. It starts dissipating that energy. So how do you do your forgiveness work?
I've been doing it for a long time, so let me actually just talk as if it was relatively new to me. I see something, years ago, I saw a mother slap a child right in front of me in a Starbucks in LA. And I was shocked because I really recognized instantly that, oh my God, that is how much anger is in me.
Mm.
That was what I said to myself, that I could do something to a child like that right here in public. Instead of saying that mother's terrible or that child was ruly, I said, I recognized for the first time how much anger is inside of me. And then I moved to doing my own forgiveness work, as my wife just described.
Yeah, I have seen miracles with Ho'oponopono, things that I didn't think we could ever overcome, things that I didn't have an answer to. I just turned it over. And that's another thing. In addition to doing your forgiveness work, you got to give them back to, I say God. You can say their higher self, the universe, however the language lands for you.
Mhm.
But every one of us has our own higher self that can see the bigger picture of everything. And so start communicating with your son's higher self to get guidance on how to support him.
Can I read Rachel and
Well, let Mecca do it. You've been
Oh,
talking.
Rachel in Utah. Mecca, read them up.
Our family is third-generation Mormon. My teenage daughter has had challenges understanding and relating to our beliefs and ways, and rather than be controlling as you say, I'd like to know, there's no punctuation.
Go ahead.
I'd like to know what a better conscious parenting approach would be.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
So, Mecca,
What?
do you remember when I used to want you to meditate with me?
Yeah.
What an attitude. She's 18.
Oh, she's always been like that. What? So what happened? I know you were only 3, but you've read this time. Huh?
I was making fun of you.
I know you were fake meditating.
Yeah.
Our daughter used to fake meditate next to my wife. And then what happened? One day she was just done. Yeah, one day she was just done with it.
I left.
Okay, so I have been on my own spiritual journey since the late 80s. So I'm all in. Thomas has been on his own path. And so we assumed, or at least I assumed, that our kid would be so interested in the things that we're interested in.
Our same beliefs.
Oh, yeah, our same beliefs. Oh,
because
yeah.
we're so evolved.
And we used to take her to our weekly meditation group. And so she would sit there in her, in the little, not crate, it's not a dog. Crib. Yeah, you're not a dog. Not crate. In her crib. We had a packable crib. So we were like, oh, yeah, she's all in. And so I'm like, oh, meditate. Do you want to meditate? So she would come and sit. And my ego was like, oh, yeah, she's a little Zen Buddha. Oh, my gosh. And so did I have a rude awakening?
Well, yeah, one day she was just done with it.
I got bored.
She said, I'm not interested. Leave me alone. And that was it.
Well, that was it for her.
And after Mom was hurt, after I was hurt, then we left her alone.
Well, yes, but we asked for clarity and
From what?
My higher self. And so the message that I got, Rachel, was that I meditate to be more connected to the universe, to my higher self. She's already connected. Leave her alone. And so we have these beliefs. We have these rituals that we love to do, and our kids may or may not be interested in them.
Right. She's born in a different generation.
Yeah, exactly. She's born in a different generation. She's born into a different energy.
And because this is so wonderful for you and maybe your husband, doesn't mean that she's on the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
She's wonderful right now.
Just the way she is.
And I can only recommend, teach her to leave those children alone.
So, Rachel, I invite you to leave her alone. Because she's got her own, she came in through you. But she's not yours in that way. Like she's got her own connection to the universe that may or may not have any, well, apparently has nothing to do with being Mormon.
At the moment.
At the moment. And that doesn't mean that, it doesn't mean anything. It means that this is not her path. Just like Mecca meditating and being interested in all the things that we're interested in is not her path. And she has made it very clear that she's not interested in this stuff.
One of the biggest tenets for myself in being a conscious parent since my daughter was born was to try to make sure I didn't lay my beliefs, my things onto her, because she is coming in a different age than I did, and I had a different road to get to here than I did. So that has been one of my biggest beliefs, major tenets from the beginning of her life.
Okay, and so Rachel, I know unless you're on my YouTube channel, you can't see this, but I'm holding up 21 lessons to empower the New Age kid. And I talked about this a little earlier, where there is a picture of Aquarius pouring light energy. I'm facilitating a group of kids, but Aquarius is pouring in light, love, knowledge, because we're in a different age. So
and that's on Amazon.
Oh, and that's on Amazon. So the more that I invite parents to be with who the kids are, instead of expecting, because you've been a third generation Mormon, that this is going to be right for your child.
Mecca, I'm excited about Peter in the UK.
Oh, what does Peter in the UK say? No, thank you very much, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
What does Peter in the UK say?
I have always been aware I didn't want to be the same kind of parent my father was. I found often, though, that I have fallen short many times as my new, softer efforts were ineffective, especially when issues of safety are concerned, like my 15-year-old daughter and dating life, for example. I could use some help.
Okay. So Peter in the UK, thank you for your question. And as parents, and so that's where the balance comes in, because as parents, we want to keep our children safe. We want the best for them. And we want to allow them to live and explore. And so when I was growing up, a lot of what I heard from my dad was accusations of what I was going to do, which I hadn't even thought about or had not considered, but that was in his consciousness. So he was parenting from his fear around things that he had done.
Let me talk to Peter.
Okay, you're the man. So talk to Peter.
I know sometimes as I didn't want to be anything like how my dad was as a parent. But as we become conscious of ourselves, we don't want to just move away from how our parents parented just because we don't want to be anything like them. That pushes us too far to the other end of the pole. We want to be conscious and create consciously the kind of parent that we want to be. And if you're seeing that your consequences are not being effective for your child, then you may have to ask yourself, well, where am I not being strong enough? Or where am I not following through on the consequences that I said I would issue? Because sometimes we just move too far to the other side of the pole, and then we got to bring it back into a balance more. And we have to become our own conscious parents, because if we're still reacting to our dad a generation ago, I don't know about yours, but my dad has passed away and gone. So why would he still be living here today inside of me, issuing edicts of the way to be? He's not. You've passed. His generation has passed. It's time for you to become yourself, develop your own self as a parent, being conscious. Does that make any sense?
I don't know.
That's an honest answer.
But to piggyback on that, I want to feel into this. to this answer. So to piggyback on that, conscious parenting is also about being a guide and partner to your child. So it's not about you setting up all these rules and structures. It's about you guys working together. And as Thomas said, did you talk about doing your forgiveness work for him? I don't know.
No, I haven't.
I got a little lost in that.
Yeah, I started. Yeah, you go to that. Go to the mirroring forgiveness work.
So it's going to continue to come back to mirroring, and forgiveness. So what is your daughter showing you? But then also, I would sit down with your daughter, after you've kind of done some cleaning up yourself, and then talk to her like she is another being, not your daughter that you own, but like this other being that you're partnering with for their well-being. And the conversation would look something like, okay, so this isn't working, what we've been doing, so what would work? And come to some kind of agreement that works for both of you, but have her be involved in it so that it's not you laying down the rules and the law, because we all know what happens there. They're going to go, we all do that. Oh, you're trying
not laying down any rules
or
and
laws.
laws.
I don't think he's saying that. I didn't want to be the same kind of parent. I found the fall short. My new softer. Well, it all depends on what your softer efforts are. If the softer efforts are just being unclear in your communication, that's what I think you were trying to talk about. Have you communicated clearly what your expectations are? But it's a partnership, because you both want the best for her. So it's a partnership. So how do you then find a happy medium that you feel safe, she feels safe, and you feel confident that she knows how to handle herself and what she's doing? And one thing that we've talked to Mecca about her whole life is really being in touch with her instincts and her intuition and trusting that. And, we watch her decision-making ability, and she's a very strong person. And so I have faith in that in terms of her being able to see situations. But, I tell her, if something doesn't feel right, don't do it or get out. So having conversations that provide your daughter with tools and give her agency over her life, and working together.
And then I think, Peter, if you do make that shift, you're going to need to persist, because your daughter may not buy into this shift initially. And you got to keep coming back and coming back and coming back with an open heart, loving her, and just persist, because she wants to feel your love. Mm-hmm. And she just may be times.
Or if she just, or if she, it could be a number of different things. So I'll invite you to do some quiet reflection and really be honest with yourself about who you've been being as a parent. And do you feel that it's been effective? And maybe where you could have been stronger or more clear, then once again, do your forgiveness work, clean it up in yourself, and then clean it up with your daughter. It's like, look, I was so trying to be different than my dad that I went in the exact opposite direction, which didn't serve you either. It didn't serve you, and it didn't serve me.
That's what I was trying to say.
Oh, okay. And so this is what happened. And so I see where it wasn't useful to you. So let's wipe the slate clean, apologize, whatever needs to be done, and then work together on something that does work. And I'm losing my voice again. Go ahead, Tom.
That sounds great. I seem to be in quite a mood today, cutting to the quick so much. But thank you very much, Peter, in the UK, for sending that email in. I know you can create a transformation in yourself, which will create a transformation in your 15-year-old daughter, which will create a transformation in your family. But be persistent. Be persistent and stay open-hearted.
Okay, so Mecca.
Hmm.
So what are some alternatives to corporal punishment? I actually researched some.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Modeling appropriate behavior, lead by example, and practice what you preach.
So what does that mean? Modeling by, what is it? Modeling by,
Appropriate behavior.
okay. So if you lie to your kid, if you hit your kid, then we've been talking about mirroring, then what's going to come back to you?
Just that.
Your kid's going to start lying, or your kid's going to start hitting you or someone else.
Yeah.
Because with this, everyone is a reflection of us, especially in this energy. I don't know if you've noticed, like 1 month feels like a week sometimes because time is moving fast. There's a lot of light pouring onto the planet. There's a lot of shifting going on. And there's not a lot of leeway anymore. Like before, you could maybe do something messed up and you wouldn't see the consequences for months or years. So you didn't realize that you had created that.
Mm-hmm.
But now things are manifesting so fast that you can do X and it could be minutes or hours later. Y happens and you're like, wait a minute, I just had that thought, I just did that. So time is speeding up. So you don't have as much leeway anymore to get away with stuff and not have it impact you.
You might as well just you have no leeway.
Yeah, no leeway.
Everything is manifesting immediately in one way or another. So don't look for the same thing to come from if somebody steals something, or if you steal something from somebody, don't look to that person to be scared of them stealing from you, because it's going to come from somewhere. We're talking about the universe here, not a specific person.
I just want to say thank you, Peter in the UK. I don't know that we thanked him. Right.
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you.
I thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Peter. So modeling behavior, lead by example, because the consequence is, and Mecca was only 2, but Mecca was very clear she was not going to be pinched or hit.
Right.
So she pinched me back and I got it, because that was not who she was committed to being raised by, and it wasn't my commitment.
And Mom was very clear that if she threw her shoe at her again while driving, she wouldn't have that pair of shoes. And she didn't.
Yeah.
So follow through.
Follow through. Okay, Mecca, what else do I have on this list?
Natural consequences.
What did I say about
What
that?
are natural consequences?
Allow negative behavior to have natural consequences without parental involvement.
Yes.
If this isn't appropriate in dangerous situations.
So that means allowing your child to receive the consequences of their cause. They go out and cause something, they receive the effects. If our daughter were to go and eat sugar and desserts and sugar and desserts, sugar and desserts, she would weigh 300 pounds. That's the consequence. That's the effect.
Well, she did eat sugar. She did OD on sugar one time. What happened, Mecca?
I slept for like 12 hours straight, and then I had a fever.
Yeah, you were in a coma. Like you couldn't even function. And so
we had taken off the restraint of how much.
No. This was before.
This was New Year's.
This was New Year's. She was only 9.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we weren't. She was out there playing with her friends, and we didn't know how much she had eaten.
Right.
Yeah, and so she was like dead on the back bench on our drive home. We didn't know what was wrong with her, and it turned out she was in a sugar coma.
So cause and effect.
And so, did you ever do that again, Mecca?
If I initiate something, I'm going to get the consequences of that. So let them get their consequences, even if it makes you, parent, feel a little bit uncomfortable, because they learn from experience, not from words.
Right. And we're not talking about, something dangerous. Like,
of course not.
With the sugar, though, we didn't even know Mecca had eaten it. So, and that was a choice that she made, and she's chosen not to ever do that again.
Right.
Okay. Any last words? Because it's already time to start wrapping up. Anything else you wanted to share before we wrap up? Mecca, anything you wanted to share? No.
My last word is be persistent with loving your children, opening your heart, being willing to look at yourself first before you accuse your child, and being persistent again with loving them, and keep coming back, and keep coming back to them, and apologize.
Okay, hand me those books, please. All right, so we're talking about conscious parenting. So I have tools and resources for you. I've talked about 21 Lessons to Empower the New Age Kid, which is a great book that is meant to be done as discussions.
It's reversed.
Oh, it's meant to be done as discussions. And it talks of some of my favorite lessons are beliefs, where you start looking at your beliefs and seeing how your beliefs are creating your life. And Tips and Trips of Parenting a New Age Kid is a family labor of love, but this is a book of stories about how we've handled certain things. I also have 2 workshops to support you on your conscious parenting journey. Passionate Parenting in
Where
This
can
New
I get
Age.
those books?
You can get the books on Amazon.
How do I find you on Amazon?
Sandra Jones-Keller.
Okay.
Just by my name. This virtual workshop is perfect for parents looking to reduce power struggles, stress, and anxiety with their teens and tweens. And I have DIY mindfulness for teens and tweens, and students learn practical mindfulness concepts for everyday life. So we've come to the end of our show. So this was our 27th show. So visit the archives on News for the Soul Radio for other entertaining and enlightening shows. Tell all your friends, and thank you so much for joining us. And Thomas, thank you for being here.
We like to have fun on this show because we're talking about very serious, profound issues that are sometimes very painful. So we like to balance the pain with as much laughter as possible, but we don't take anything you say lightly.
Absolutely not. So the Conscious Parenting Show is live the second Friday of each month here on News for the Soul Radio and on my YouTube channel. So please tell all your friends. There's a lot of parents that are looking for a different way of parenting. They don't know where to start. They don't know how to be supported. So have them visit my website, sandrajoneskeller.com. And until next time, happy parenting. Hold on.
Oh.